Do you know that feeling of bloated stomach, gas, discomfort that seems endless? Many people think it's normal, that it's just how it is after eating. But I can assure you, it's not normal. I myself lived for many years with my intestines always swollen, painful, trying every trend on the internet. And for a long time, I only made it worse. Today, I want to calmly show you the 8 habits that most damage your gut health without you realizing. If you stay with me until the end, I am sure you'll see yourself in at least 2 or 3 of them, and more importantly, you'll know where to start changing. The first mistake is trying to fix the gut by piling up fiber on your plate overnight. The person discovers that fiber is good, buys whole grain bread, cereal bars, oats, granola, raw salad, puts everything on the same day, and thinks they are doing great. But if your gut is already inflamed, full of gases, with irritated mucosa, it's like rubbing sandpaper on a wounded skin. Instead of relief, you get more bloating, more pain, more cramps. Fiber is not the villain, but the way, the amount, and the timing make a big difference. In many cases, starting with cooked vegetables, very soft, in small portions, is much smarter than overdoing raw salad all at once. The second mistake is blindly trusting that any pharmacy probiotic or any yogurt labeled with lactobacilli will solve everything. The industry is great at putting contains probiotics on the label, but often the amount of live bacteria is low, the strains are not the most studied, and to make matters worse, the container is filled with sugar, flavoring, thickener, and coloring. So you might get a bit of good bacteria, but along with a bucket of sugar feeding bad bacteria. For many people, it makes much more sense to focus on simple fermented foods like plain whole natural yogurt without sugar, kefir, fermented vegetables, rather than filling the shopping cart with functional products advertised as such. However, even then, this needs to be introduced gradually because an irritated gut doesn't like sudden changes. The third destructive habit is obsessing over cleaning the intestines all the time with laxatives, aggressive teas, enemas, and colon cleanses. The person feels heavy, that something is stuck, and chases after anything that promises quick emptying. But the intestine is not a dirty pipe that you unclog with caustic soda. When you push too hard with laxatives and washes, you also remove good bacteria, irritate the intestinal wall even more, and may worsen constipation afterward. I have seen people who started with an harmless tea and, in a few months, their intestines only functioned if there was chemical stimulation. The foundation of intestinal cleansing is not in the perfect laxative. It's in better sleep, stress management, daily movement, and consistent eating. The fourth mistake that messes up the gut flora once and for all is the repeated and unnecessary use of antibiotics. Antibiotics save lives when used in the right situation. The problem is using them for any sore throat, any cold that is often viral, any malaise, without confirmation. Each cycle of antibiotics is like passing a bulldozer through your microbiota. It kills bad bacteria, but also drags along a lot of good bacteria that protect your mucosa, produce vitamins, and help with immunity. And this community does not return to the same after. That's why today I have much more respect when I think about antibiotics. I only use them when truly necessary, and whenever possible, I discuss with the doctor ways to care for the intestine afterward to help this flora reorganize. The fifth habit that destroys the gut is trying to silence the stomach with antacids all the time, without understanding what is happening. Many people live with heartburn, burning sensation, reflux, and the automatic response is, it must be too acidic. I'll take something to cut the acidity. However, in many cases, the problem is the opposite. Too little acid, a valve that doesn't close properly, food staying too long in the stomach, fermenting. When you reduce the acid even more, digestion of protein worsens, more microbes pass into the intestine, and it opens the way for more gases, bloating, and discomfort. You're not supposed to stop medication on your own. That's dangerous. But it's important to understand that often, working on better chewing, not eating late at night, reducing ultra-processed foods, and adjusting what you eat have a huge impact on reflux and intestinal health. The sixth classic mistake is an exaggerated fear of good fat. The wave of light everything, zero fat, made many people think that any fat is an enemy. However, your intestine needs good fat to function properly. It is the fat in your meal that signals the gallbladder to release bile. And it is the bile that helps emulsify the fat so you can absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, as well as important fatty acids. When you spend years on a nearly fat-free diet, eating bread, crackers, and zero products, the bile becomes thick, its release becomes sluggish, and you start experiencing heavy digestion, greasy stools, gas formation, and an imbalance of flora in the small intestine. Reintroducing olive oil, eggs, fatty fish, avocados, and other natural sources in moderation is an important step for the intestine to start working as it should. The seventh habit that seems healthy but damages the gut is the idea of a balanced diet that, in practice, is a bit of everything all the time, with refined carbohydrate dominating the plate. The person says they eat everything with balance, but when looking at the entire day, there's bread at breakfast, excessive rice at lunch, cookies in the afternoon, and dessert after dinner. This excess of starch and sugar feeds the bacteria that ferment the most and produce gases. For those with diabetes, insulin resistance, or metabolic syndrome, this is even more serious because an inflamed gut adds to uncontrolled glucose levels. Reducing white flour, sugar, soda, sweetened juice, and betting on protein, healthy fats, and real vegetables is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your gut and overall health. The eighth mistake I see too often is the abuse of super shakes, vitamins, and green juices as if the gut would accept anything blended. The logic is, if it's fruit, leaf, and seed blended, it must be wonderful. But in practice, many people put 3 fruits, a bunch of raw leaves, flaxseed, chia, oats, ice, blend everything, and drink it all at once. Within a few minutes, that results in bloating, gut noises, and a feeling that something is fermenting inside you. For a healthy gut, this may eventually be well tolerated. For someone already inflamed, that's too much load at once. Often, it's smarter to eat a piece of fruit with a source of protein, include cooked vegetables throughout the day, rather than forcing huge shakes in the name of being fit. At the same time I talk about error, I want you to understand the good part, the intestine response. It is a living, dynamic organ that regenerates. When you give less impact and more support, it begins to improve. This involves respecting your body with intervals between meals, stopping snacking all day, sleeping better, going out in the sun regularly, adding movement to your routine, and treating real food as the foundation, not as an exception. And remember, those with diabetes or who take many medications need even greater care because the intestine inflames more easily, and any dietary adjustments or fasting should be done in consultation with your doctor. If this content made you realize that some innocent habits might be destroying your gut, now's the time to like the video and subscribe to EDU Health Tips. This shows YouTube that it's worth sharing this kind of information with more people. And tell me in the comments, which of these 8 habits do you see yourself in the most? In consuming too much fiber at once, in detoxes and laxatives, in the medication you've been taking for years without questioning, or in the shakes packed with stuff. The more you share your experience, the better I can create videos aligned with your reality. I am Edu Rodriguez, and my mission here is to help you understand your body so that you stop fighting it and start working with it. In the next video, I want to show you the opposite approach, habits that promote a healthy gut flora, which aid in blood sugar control, immunity, and even mood. If you want to take the next step in this journey, just click on the video appearing here on the side and continue with me.